Hey, good evening, folks. Hello. How are people this evening? I hope you're well. I might get a bit hoarse tonight. It's a pretty noisy GT this weekend, so um, my voice feels a little bit hoarse. But good evening. We got a few army lists to look at tonight, actually. Let me see. They are from Lucas, Luke, Mike, and PJ Murray. So, four. I feel like someone might have DM'd me an army list somewhere. It's best to actually submit them on the community tab of the YouTube channel, because if you DM me and then I read my DMs at lunchtime or work or something and I'm not at my computer, then I've no way of putting them into a text file. So uh, sometimes I remember when I get home and put them into text files, but sometimes I just plain forget. So um, if you've got a list that needs reviewed and it hasn't been reviewed yet, please put it over in the YouTube community tab. I'm actually not too tired today. I kind of pieced out at the end of my second game today and just left very quickly, and then went and spent the afternoon taking my daughter on her like scooter. You get to the YouTube channel like this, YouTube / at BA_commander, and then you click on community, and then put it in the latest post here. That's the best way. Cool. So, good evening to everybody that is here tonight. Rizio, Miles, good evening. Miles had to shoot off today. He was actually 3-1, so he could have done really well in this event. Unfortunately, he had to shoot off. Cool. All right, let's get straight into it then. Any questions you have, you can put in chat. Any questions about my event this weekend, I guess you can put in chat. But I mean, I took a bunch of photos. I'm going to make a video on probably all the games that I had. And then I'll tell you what was good and what wasn't good, I guess. With maybe both my list and with also my opinion of the meta at the moment. Um, uh, yeah, no, I mean that's a whole other video, Mike. So I'm gonna do that. I haven't even I've just off the photos on my phone. I haven't downloaded them to the PC, so I need to download them to PC probably like tomorrow night and make some slides if I want to do it any justice. But I mean, the lists or the games I played were Sisters of Battle, uh, Chaos Zinj Demons, Thousand Suns, Tau, and then finished with Necrons. Dave Maddox. Dave, I actually put you down as my 3-point best game opponent. I don't know if you won it, but I gave you 3 points for my best opponent, Dave. Thanks for tuning in tonight. How are you? Me and Dave had a 84-point draw. Blood Angels versus Chaos Demons. It was the fucking closest game ever, actually. Yeah, I'll explain it all. I'm still bitter I didn't win that game. No, I'm not really, but it would have been. It was a fun game anyway. I mean, the fucking Chaos Demons were just killing me left, right, and center. Oh, you put me down for 3 points too. I appreciate that, Dave. Thank you. Um, no, I was mad after my final game, so I just went and played at the park with my daughter. So that cheered me up a bit. Okay. Lucas George is the first list for tonight. He said, "Hey, Blood Angels Commander, I'd love to get my list of views." He lives in Australia, so okay, so he's missed the stream. He's running Dante as his warlord. He's running the Librarian and Whirlwind. Give him 2 sets of fight first, fight last. Librarian is a visit of death, and the priest has rights of war. There are a lack of troops in the list because troops suck. Yeah, I mean that they do. I mean, I guess unless you're trying to do like actions, and Marine troops aren't very cost effective and they don't do very much damage. My experience this weekend of assault intercessors was like a bunch of times my assault intercessors made the charge, get like 26 attacks and then just kill nothing. Or they take like one wound off a model. Like it's actually kind of insane how bad assault intercessors do into some of those armies. I think I think against Dave's list, I had like a squad of assault intercessors, like 5 of them, charge like a single flamer of Zinch, maybe, and they were in combat with it for like 3 turns, and they just couldn't kill it. So yeah, assault intercessors and troops not in a great shape right now. I'm curious what you think of this list. Alright, let's have a look. It's Dante as the Warlord, as Librarian with Veil of Time, Null Zone, and Psychic Fortress. I think Null Zone has probably lost some of its power now if you're going to fight against demons, because they obviously just get demon saves and you can't remove the invulnerable saves. Against some armies, Null Zone definitely has use. It probably synergizes quite well with the Marine list, because like Marines have no invulnerable saves, right? And that was the big problem I felt at this event, in that like if you're running a 2,000 point army and you have 1 invulnerable save, which I do in my list really, which is on Dante, it doesn't feel good. So I guess Null Zone does synergize with Marines. I was going to say, I think if you take Null Zone, though, you really need to take Psychic Mastery, because casting on a 7 without Psychic Mastery is like super unreliable. Do I use Assault Intercessor stratagems? No, because I'm absolutely starved of CP. Alunda. I don't know how I would have any CP to use Assault Intercessor stratagems. I think the Assault Intercessor stratagem for Fight Twice should be like 1 CP for 5s and 2 CP for 10. Alright, he's got a squad of Incursors. My thought, and this was a random thought with Incursors, is like, against Sisters of Battle, the mines might actually be decent on the Incursor squad, because my experience of Sisters of Battle is they drop down like a Zephyr unit from Deep Strike, and they can't fail the charge because they can just use Miracle Dice. So they have a guaranteed charge into your Incursors. Yeah, you can pay 2 CP to interrupt. But your 2 CP interrupt's never going to kill that many Zephyrim. On a good day, it kills 3 or 4. In reality, when I do it at a tournament, it kills 1. So maybe a mine to kill 2 or 3 more Zephyrim would be useful. So that's something you could consider about. They can't against Infiltrators, sure, but Infiltrators don't do any damage. But I suppose you could argue Incursors don't do any damage. I mean, at least they have -2 AP once you get forward. Okay. Remember as well, like Sisters of Battle, it's not only the Zephyrim you have to worry about. You have to worry about Repentia with advance and charge on 3d6. So, I mean, the mine would be kind of useful against them as well. You got 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts with Macro Plasmas and Onslaughts, and I guess Redemptors are decent at 190 points. The problem I have with Redemptors is the Macro Plasma is unreliable. I probably won't play Macro Plasma to a tournament again, because typically when you need 6 shots, or if you even need 3 shots out of Macro Plasma at a tournament, you'll roll a 1. And yeah, I mean, maybe. I bought 3 Redemptors because I thought they were going to be my go-to, but I don't run them anymore. Okay, you've got Rites of War and the Sanguinary Priest. My experience of this event is the Sanguinary Priest probably... I think I honestly, for a while there, I've said Teeth of Terra is the better choice. I honestly think maybe Armor Indomitus is actually kind of useful in the Sanguinary Priest. You gotta remember, like, where we are in the meta is like, what happens, or at least what I saw happen a couple of times this weekend, is like, I bounce in with like the Sanguinary Priest backed up with like, or Dante, either or, backed up by like 6 Sanguinary Guards. So like I bounce in, do a bunch of hits, do a bunch of wounds, and then typically the armies I'm playing against, like demons, have all 4-up saves, or maybe something else, I don't know. I think Krons had a bunch of like 4-up saves on one of their units as well. And they spike their saves, right? So they make like a shitload of 4-up saves, and you kill like 1 or 2 models. And then suddenly you get hit back, and because Marines don't have good invulnerable saves, or in fact they have no invulnerable saves, you're only saving on 6. Like if it's the Death Company, you're maybe only saving on 6s. On Sanguinary Guard, you're maybe only saving on 5s. I find you never really spike on saving on, like, you never spike saving on 6s. You never like, well, I mean, maybe once in a blue fucking moon you have, you have to take 10 saves on 6s, 8 or 9 of you guys are dying, right? Whereas if you have to take 10 saves on 4 up, yeah, you could spike that and like you only lose 1 or 2 models. So quite often my characters were getting left exposed. I think that's happening more and more in the meta, is what I feel like. I very rarely made charges that weren't like in Assault Doctrine, because I have the Priest, or with some form of rerolls. Or Unleash Rage, because I usually cast Unleash Rage. And even then, like my characters were like getting woefully exposed and picked off. So I could actually be on board with. I like Rites of War somewhere in the list, but I could be more on board with putting Armor and Dominus on this guy. How did the tournament go? I did 2 wins, a draw, and 2 losses. And one of my losses was against the Sisters list that I just think I can't beat. And one of the losses was against a Necron list that possibly could have been beaten, but it was on Abandoned Sanctuaries, which is like my most hated map. I don't think it should be played at tournaments, period. And I went first. I really wanted to go second as well, so it was like I went first, but I lost all my potential first turn threat. So I basically just had to jump forward or just sit back, and it was kind of yeah. I don't like Abandoned Sanctuaries. You guys know that. But yeah, I'll cover the tournament. All right, so Centurions. We've actually got 4 Centurions here. I've never run Centurions in more than 3. I'd be scared to run 4, because like a couple of lists I played against, like the Tau list that I played against, and the Sisters list that I played against, and the Necrons list that I played against, very rarely am I ever getting hit with less than -3 or -4. So even with Armor of Contempt, you're usually saving on like 5s and 6s. Centurions are maybe saving on 5s, but see, I don't know. I think with the Centurions you probably need to go with 5-man. We've seen 5-man have some success. I'm not sure about 4. When I ran 3-man, I felt like if you're playing against Sisters of Battle, they could use a squad of Retributors and just wipe a 3-man squad of Centurions pretty easily with multi-meltas at long range. Even with the Feel No Pain from the Priest, and I think back then maybe I even ran Psychic Fortress, so that would be in a 5-up, which is what it would be now. So sort of feel that like if you're going to do Centurions, you probably need to do 5. But I mean, I don't have any experience playing more than 3, so I don't know. But we don't really see 4 played in competitive play. We now have 2 Death Company, one with Infernal Pistols and Swords, one with Thunderhammer and Infernal Pistol. I mean, both these Death Companies are fine. They're really good for damage output. They're pretty poor for survivability, my opinion is. Sanguinary Guard, it's 2 6s, all swords, couple of Infernal Pistols again. Pretty good for damage for the most part. And then you've got the Whirlwind. So OBSEC here is pretty low. 1 Incursor. And 1 Rites of War. So I mean you could struggle with OBSEC here against certain lists. Two Redemptors and Centurions is interesting, actually. We don't often see that. I mean, yeah, if troops don't do that much killing, which I guess we can agree that they can do, maybe it's time to lose some troops. How many CP does this list have? 1 CP? Oh man, my list starts with 2. Well, my list actually starts with 3 CP, and I sometimes put a couple of units into reserve for R&D. But this starting with 2 CP against some of these other armies, like for example, I was going to say like if you're coming up against like when I play Necrons, you're coming up against the Void Dragon, yeah, which you kind of need to just suppress all the time. Otherwise, whatever he charges, he's killing, right? So if you want to take him down through the wounds cap, and this was the same against the Chaos, the Demons of Chaos that I played, and like they have a Bloodthirster with 20 wounds, and he's wound capped on 8. So it's like you end up like suppressing him a bunch of times. So if you know, if you have 10 CP or 11 CP over the course of the game and you want to form on Fury, so you really only have 10, then you're going to use suppression fire 5 times. It leaves you no CP. It really leaves you no CP to do very much else. And during the event this weekend, I honestly thought to myself a couple of times, as much as it's cool that Dante gives you 1 CP, and he can do an epic deed for free, it might be better, like, if we're starting on this low CP, to honestly take Master of the Codex. And then I think a bite captain is better than Dante anyway, because I think you get Thunder Hammer as opposed to you get a 2 damage axe like Dante. I prefer the Thunder Hammer. I think it's more scary, and like when you really need big damage, I think a Strength 8 Thunder Hammer is better than a Strength 7 2 damage axe. Yeah, my experience though was a couple of times my priest got jumped, and if the priest gets jumped, as he currently stands with no CP spent on him, he's just going to die every time. So I guess Armor of Domitus could save him. But yeah, it's a tough question. Will you see much in way of other armies using reserves at the tournament? Did you see much? The Demons of Zinj had a reserve squad of. I mean, it says it's Zinj. I guess it was Zinj and Korn. They had a squad of Bloodletters in reserve. The Sisters had like a couple of squads of Seraphim in reserve. Let me think what else. I guess with the Necrons, you just get the jump from the Orb of Darkness, right? And who was my other game against? The Thousand Suns. Oh, the Thousand Suns. They did a jump with the Scarab Terminators. But yeah, so not many people do more than like 1 or 2 units in reserve. The only reason that I'm doing more than that is because I'm doing R&D, because I feel like the Space Marine secondaries are honestly in a really bad spot. Like, it's very hard for Marines in general to score over 90 points, I feel like. Unless like the enemy's got something like, you're going to get 15 points for no prisoners, we aren't able to score 100 points by sitting on a few objectives like some of the other armies are. Okay, so I mean, what do I like? I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't know if Null Zone has all that use. I guess Psychic Fortress probably has a bit of use, because one of the things Marines really probably do struggle from is lack of invulnerable saves. Maybe I need to think about Psychic Fortress again. I'm going to think up a new list, I'm sure. The Death Company and Sanguinary Guard loadouts here are pretty much exactly what I run today. I don't have a problem with these. I just think that, like, they're decent, but their lack of invulnerable saves probably kind of hurts them. And the fact that we don't have a whole lot, like, we've got no stratagems that are going to make Sanguinary Guard more survivable. We've got one stratagem that can maybe help make Death Company more survivable. Honestly, generally say that I wouldn't use it. If you have to choose one between the 2 Death Company loadout, which one? Infernal Pistols and Power Swords, or 4 Thunderhammers? If you have to choose one, I think Thunderhammers. But I think it's good to have 2. The Infernal Pistol, I have a small Death Company with Infernal Pistols, and they did some work today. I mean, like, it was like 3 Infernal Pistols into a Tiger Shark from Tau or something, did like 10 wounds or something, really just helped finish that off nice and quick. Jim says for Space Marines everything is in a really bad spot. I don't know if everything's in a really bad spot, but I think the lack of invulnerable saves across the army wide, and then the lack of great secondaries, makes it very, very difficult. I really tried. Inks, thank you so much for becoming a member again as well. I appreciate it. Highly consider running with Fiston and an Inquisitor and going for interrogation to try 45 secondary every game. I wouldn't say that's not. I wouldn't say that's a bad idea, James. Mephiston does really suffer from not having +1 to cast. It's nice he has 2 denies. It's nice he has a strength 10 sword and he has a feel no pain and stuff. But he really does suffer for not having a +1 to cast. I've had events where he's been really reliable. This event he was not reliable at all. I think a lot. I mean, I must have failed like 5 or 6 tests on a 5, and all of our powers are on 6s. The other thing that really frustrates me actually with our psychic powers is, our psychic powers struggle to do like 1 mortal wound. Dave's friggin' psychic power does 9 mortal wounds. Thank God Mephiston denied that, but that, I mean, in a game where it was already like, basically in the game against Zinch Demons, I was scoring points and I was ahead on points, but he's just killing me everywhere. I actually thought I'd won the game because in the final turn, I was 8 points ahead, but he was able to do actions on 2 objectives and get 8 points and catch up. But like, the killing power of that list, like that list is just killing me left, right, and center, and I'm like putting an obsec model onto an objective and just being like, I'm just gonna come and try and hold this, but I know I'm gonna get smited next turn. Yeah. Overall, then this list from Lucas looks pretty decent. I'm probably going to remove the JW gaming links from my videos going forward, Gavito. I'll take a note. I'll take a note and remove them. If he's not supplying, then there's no point in them being there. Yeah, I mean this list is fine, and as my general consensus after this event is that like Space Marine troops are not good, but having not much obsec is also a big problem for Marines. I also kind of feel like Commander Dante is still not good. I mean, I played him in an event. I think the thing that Dante really suffers from is no protection against mortals. And also, if he's off with a squad of Sangri Guard by himself, which often happens, then the Sangri Guard have no protection against mortals either. So I really much prefer running. I think my next list will probably run Chapter Master with Soul Warden and Master of the Codex. So that we have protection against mortals and we also have a sort of CP generator as well, or whatever you want to call it. Because yeah, I mean, I'm just not a fan of Dante, and also I'm not a fan of his 2 damage weapon in many shape or form. But okay, I mean, it is what it is. It is your choice on how to play them. But overall, the rest of this list seems kind of fine. I don't know how 4 Centurions do. I would need to test that. But I do know 2 Redemptors is usually quite okay. I guess the only downside with Redemptors are they profile pretty hard. They don't have great movement. I think it's 864 for their movement. I don't really know why they're 864 when Armigers are like 12, 10, 8. I don't know why they're not count as 5 obsec. Someone actually said to me today that he thought the Armigers should count for the number of wounds left on their model for when it's like counts as 5 obsec. He was like, if they have 1 wound remaining, they count as 1. If they have 12 wounds remaining, they count as 12. And I was like, do you know what? I actually like that a lot more than the static counts as 5 with 1 wound remaining on an Armiger. I mean, I used that today, right? Like a 2 wound Armiger moving 17 inches to get onto an objective and just being like, haha, I'm 5 obsec. That's my objective. And that probably actually kept me in a couple of games. Maybe against Chaos Demons, I think. Charging an Armiger onto an objective that has a bunch of stuff on it, but just being able to touch it and go, I'm obsec, I count as 5, is really important. Okay, so this is a fine list. I don't know what I would change, but I mean, I'm agreeing that troops aren't great in general, I guess. But I think you do want. I mean, I've said it before. I think you do want Soul Warden, and I think you do want Rights of War. How you fit them in, and also how you fit them in with starting CP is just very difficult, right? What's the questions? Dante is wonderful, but as you said, run what you want and what you like. I mean, he wasn't The problem with Dante is like he can get killed in two failed saves, right? Like no feel no pain really hurts him, no mortal wound protection really hurts him. I mean, when you've got, I think Lord of Change did like 6 mortals to him in like one turn, and it's just like, all right, so he's just dead. I don't get a save, I don't get anything. He's just dead. Um, and I mean, like that's why I don't like him. Like I really think that if you're gonna spend 165 points on a chapter master, and remember he can't even fight now. Like you can't even. He died a few times where he couldn't even use his epic deed. So like picking him because he gets a free epic deed. Well, if he gets smited, he can't use it, right? So like, um, DTM says, I feel you get more out of your Foresight plus Adamantium Mantle Captain, to be honest. I think he just suited for your playstyle. Yeah, I think I got even more out of the Soul Warden one, because I think now I tend to run Sangre Guard with the character much more. I think when I was running just that Captain before, I was only running one squad of Sangard. So I definitely made sure, and you'll see it in some of the photos, especially against like the Tau list, where I've got like the priest in the middle with like 6 Sangard around him, and then I've got Dante on another part of the board with 6 Sangard around him. But I think it's better if you have Soul Warden for that second bubble. Because yeah, if you don't, you just get like War of Attrition against mortal wounds. In some lists, that can be really deadly. That's a Lord of Change, though. Yeah, they're awesome. They're a lot of points. Yeah, I mean, they're a lot of points, but you gotta kill them, right? And if you don't get up close, then they're just killing you from all over the board, I guess. Okay, so Luke went to Coventry GT. I think he went 4-1 with this 115 player event. He went 4-1. He actually beat Necrons, so he went Relentless, Fury of the Lost, no prisoners. He beat Knights with 13 Armigers and Halberns. Oh no, he lost against Knights. Relentless, Fury. So he played Fury of the Lost for 9, bring it down. He beat Tau. Relentless for 15, Fury of the Lost, Sangard. I probably overly picked Shock Assault today, actually. But I felt like it synergized with some of the maps. Chaos Space Marines, Relentless, Fury of the Lost Banners, and then Custodes, Relentless, Fury of the Lost Banners. Okay. So he ran Dante, a Death Company captain, with the Infernal Pistol and the Hammer of Baal. He seems cheap, 165 points. All right, yeah, because he's not a chapter master, sure. Icon of the Angel, Rites of War, Sangre Priest, Assault Intercessors, Assault Infiltrators, Infiltrators, Thunder Hammers, Infernal Pistols, Power Fists, Death Company, Infernal Pistols, Power Swords, Death Company, 10-man Death Company, all chain swords. I mean, that's a lot of Death Company, gives you a lot of options. The Sangre Ancient, I assume, will have the Wrath of Baal and Soul Warden, which is cool. Small Sandguards, just 5 and 5. And then Assault Squads for 90. I mean, maybe they're going to be doing a little bit of actioning. Or maybe they're just there for probably Relentless Assault. Yeah, so here's a list that went to a big GT and did well with 4 squads of Death Company, or 3 squads of Death Company and the Death Company character. And I think in a lot of my games I probably did kill units with Death Company, because I did Forlorn Fury them and kill units multiple times. I did get Thunderhammers into units multiple times. What's the condition on Fury of the Lost? You actually have to make the killing blow with the Death Company. I think you probably do. I don't play Fury of the Lost. I mean, I'm making more and painting more Death Company at the moment, so maybe that's something on the horizon for me. This is an interesting list because it actually doesn't need 10 hammers, and 10 hammers is what I do not have for Death Company. I have 5 hammers. Fury of the Lost. I think it's you have to kill the model with Death Company, right? Oh, for fuck's sake. I complain about this free website. How cheap am I? Fury of the Lost. Don't help me, Chrome. 3 points if unit was destroyed by Death Company. Okay, I mean, I guess you maybe have to multi-charge units into Death Company. Am I going to try out successor traits anytime soon? I don't know. I'm going to try and build a new Blood Angels list, but I don't know how tournament competitive I'm trying to make it, honestly. I think there's some I think there's some lists in the matchup that we just don't do great into. And I think I'm just, like I said, I think I'm just going to play what I want to play, what I enjoy playing. And I don't like being forced to only have like 2 or 3 competitive picks. And I think that's what other people have said as well on the comments from the last couple of videos, has said like, yeah, I don't want to play a list that's just 3 Death Company, 3 Sandguard, because, you know, there's no variation in the list. Like, if you're just going to play that list because that's our only competitive options, and I think that's what's frustrating. Okay, I mean, what's the feedback on a list like this? Infiltrators are probably quite useful, like people said, coming up against demons. Whirlwind's obviously useful, it eats up a ton of CP, suppressing things all game. I guess if you're going heavy on Fury Lost, then you need 3 units of Death Company. I guess you need the Salt Marines for scoring the Relentless Assault. Infiltrators do prevent all deep strikes within 12. So they would actually prevent the demon's deep strike, because the rule for infiltrators like overrides everything else. I don't know if that was intended when they made it. I feel like it probably was. It's probably why infiltrators are 120 points. But I mean, it doesn't help if the enemy have a really fast unit that can get on top of the infiltrators. I think it's the Omni Scrambler units on the battlefield cannot be set up as reinforcements within 12. I think that just overrides all other reinforcements. Sangre Ancient to get the extra movement, Soul Warden because it's so important, Rights of War because it's so important. I kind of like the Hammer of Baal idea on an Death Company Captain. I might be tempted to just Mastercraft the Hammer though, because the Death Company Captain can he can call a Death Vision that lets him reroll all his hits, right? So if you're rerolling all your hits, a 4 damage hammer might be more exciting. But I mean, Hammer of Baal gives you extra AP, so maybe the thing is, that's why like people ask me like, why am I going to play Flesh Tearers? I actually think like a lot of Space Marines AP is wasted, right? Like, because like the lists I came up against in the tournament, like, you know, if we look at like Sisters of Battle, well, Zephyrim, they have a 5-up in Van, and Repentia have no save, right? So that's like wasted AP in 2 of those units. Against Chaos Demons, basically all my AP is wasted. It doesn't care. They either save on like 3s in shooting and 5s or something like that. Tau, most of my AP is wasted unless I'm killing like Kroot or Fire Warriors into all the battle suits and stuff like that. Well, they're just all shield generated up. Against Necrons, again, a bunch of my AP's wasted, and you know what Necrons are like with reanimation. Sometimes that goes against you. And then against Thousand Suns, again, a lot of my AP is wasted because they have like I think it's a 5-up invuln on all their Terminators. I think Olive's Dust, yeah. So it seems like it does seem like it's funny because if I came up, I didn't come out. I didn't apart from Sisters, nothing I played at Army of Contempt. So normally I would say like, well, Sangre Guard needs swords because you've come up against Armor of Contempt. You want to still make them save on really fives. But for the most part, I felt like my EP against like 4 of my 5 matchups is just wasted. It's all invund up. And like I said, the problem with that is like invunds can swing, whereas regular armor save like I think this weekend I was a bit frustrated in that like on 2 or 3 of the matchups it was like, oh right, so I like literally only save on 5s and 6s. Like I mean, I guess like you have the odd thing where it's like, oh, Tau burst cannons. I get to save these on 2s, but for the most part, you know, like Tau plasmas, like, all right, I'm just going to save on 6s, and every plasma is going to be 3 damage. So even with my 6-up feel no pain, every single one is just going to kill a model. Okay, great, cool. Yeah, so I think probably going something like this: 3 squads of Death Company. And then the Death Company captain and playing around a secondary, like Fury of the Lost. I've heard feedback that playing Fury of the Lost at an event is very difficult to do, unless you're very experienced. But if you don't do this, then I think you can basically end up like struggling a lot, because Space Marines like. I found that today or even yesterday as well, like a bunch of options. Like I have secondaries where I'm like, right, I can maybe get 10 from the secondary. And that's the best I can get. So I have to like do really well and kill a lot of stuff, or, you know, perform actions in multiple board quadrants, whatever, and I'm gonna maximize on 10. So maybe the more viable way to play Blood Angels at the moment is 4 Death Company, like 3 Death Company a character. I'm trying to think the person that won the event. I think they also had. I think they had 3 Death Company and Lamartas, right? So maybe that's the most viable way to play Death Company. Sorry, to play Blood Angels at the moment is 3 squads of Death Company and Lamartas, or 3 squads of Death Company and a Death Company character on a bike. I guess the reason to do Lamartas is he's going to be cheaper on your CP. So those are maybe that's the best option. Then you pick Fury of the Lost, and then you have to be really good at knowing what your Death Company can kill, right? Because you have to. If you leave one model alive and the Death Company don't kill them, and then they fail morale or something, you're not getting the points for that, right? You're only getting the points if, I'm right. You're only getting the points if the Death Company actually do the killing blow. Yes. I guess you're getting some points when they kill your Death Company, so that's good as well, but I mean, that's minor. Right? So your Death Company, to get 15 points, your Death Company guys need to kill 4 units, and then they need to all die in different turns. I mean, all dying in different turns is easy. You can send them out one at a time, one turn at a time, that sort of thing. You can also weaken the unit up, yeah, 100%. If you run Death Company with Infernal Pistols like this guy does, I guess you can see who you're weakening up and then jump into combat with them. So that's kind of important as well. Okay, so I guess that's probably the most feedback I have actually from this event, in that like maybe the best way to play Blood Angels right now is to go heavy on the Death Company. How long does it normally take for a new codex to scroll up in Battle Sky back sinks? It's like 2 weeks usually. Yeah, the only problem I have with Relentless Assault is like it's hard to be able to pick Relentless Assault into every list and or on every map. Because on those corner deployment like Death or Zeal, if you're playing a list like Sisters, there's going to be no space in their deployment zone for either any deep strike or any unit you put in there is instantly going to get traded away. And that's I guess that's one of the big problems maybe with Blood Angels right now is like our units are still pretty pricey, and if you can't optimally trade with them all the time, then you end up sort of like in that deficit. The big problem with Null Zone is unless your army is all castled up, you end up giving away them when you cast it back. Yeah, I mean, I felt like a lot of times. Yeah, I felt like a few times like I gave away an awful lot, even with guys in cover and or next to the priest. Like Marines still feel like they're wearing paper armor, which is weird. Um, but yeah, I mean, Fury of the Lost might. So this is a cool list. This is definitely something to take some inspiration of. I'm trying to think. The list that we looked at a few weeks ago that got like the first place. I'm convinced now. That it. I'm convinced that that list had. Yeah, it had 3 Death Company. It had 4 with hammers, another 4 with hammers, and then the Infernal. Oh, then just a Bolt Pistol Chainsword squad and Lamartas. So yeah, it seems to be the way to do this right now, or at least give yourself the option. So when you're in a shit situation and there is no good scoring, you can pick Fury of the Lost and you can probably score 10 or 12 from it. And sometimes building a list around those comfort picks for secondaries is actually really important. Sorry, did he say something else up here? It feels like a cool list, similar to the one that I submitted in the past. The Death Company Balhammer is amazing. Draxus is an MVP when combined with the Whirlwind. Against the first 5 Custos Warriors, they won the game hand down. I mean, the Whirlwind is very important. I forget what Draxus does. He's an Inquisitor. I guess by having Draxus, you open up Psychic Interrogation as potential as well. What's Draxus got? Oh, she's the one with the targetable smite, right? So you can just smite at 18 inches, but you can pick somebody. And she also has at the start of the fight phase, if the model has made a charge, you can select an enemy unit and make them fight last. Right, so it just gives them a second fight last, I guess. Targetable smite is no bad thing. Especially if we want to talk about like Blood Boil not being a good power. I had used Blood Boil one time this weekend again, and it failed. I really hate it. It generally feels really unreliable. Like you cast it, and then it's still unreliable even after you've cast it. I do feel like 2/5 Assault Mem Intercessors are redundant, so I can see why people might be trying out the Vanguard. The only reason to have Assault Intercessors, I guess, is putting up banners or doing data. They generally don't do a lot of killing anymore. I don't know why they don't do a lot of killing. Like 26 attacks and +1 to wound feels good, but I think into just about anything that is elite, they always just seem to bounce off. I ran like 5 of them into like a squad of like Scorpex or something, and honestly don't even know if they did a wound. Maybe Tactical Marines with Infernal Pistols? And then Infernal Pistols on the Vanguard unit? I feel like I want Assault Intercessors to work, I just don't know how you make them work. I mean, the way you make them work maybe is if you give them like rerolls to hit or exploding 6s or something. But yeah, my Assault Intercessors, I feel like a year ago, I would always like bring them on and I would charge the enemy's backfield objective with the Assault Intercessors. And quite often they would kill 1 or 2 models and then they'd be on the objective and they would obsec it. Now I feel like it just doesn't do anything. I just bring them on and even when they charge, they don't do much. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, right? Because like I already feel CP starved with battalions. So talking about Patrol or Vanguard just means like, God, you would have literally no CP. What about using tactical war suits. I don't think anyone's using tactical war suits, John. They're not core, which I think puts people off them. The Salt and the Sisters did some work against the Votan. I mean, I played so many games of 40k this weekend, I don't remember. But if they did, that's great. DTM says, I like the 5-man SG units. I'm still on the MSU train for Marines since they all die on the counter-attack anyway. I'd rather lose 150 points than the 200 points. Yeah, I mean, I find that 6-man Sanguinary Guard squads can get mopped up super quickly. My 5-man Death Company squads can get mopped up super quickly. I think just starting on 1 CP, Stephen, feels like you're really... Like, I start my game was on 2 CP, then I use Forlorn Fury, so I'm basically on 2 CP once the game starts. And, like, a bunch of times today, when I needed CP, or yesterday as well, I just feel starved. If I'm fighting something, like I said, like, if you're fighting that list where they've got a Bloodthirster that will kill anything that it charges from, and you're not going to be able to do any damage, meaningful damage to it in the shooting phase, I guess, unless you've got a shitload of Infernal Pistols and you're lucky. Because against Dave's list, I put like all the Melthus from the Knights into it and didn't do a single wound of damage. So you got a 20 wound Bloodthirster that can only take 8 wounds off a phase. I mean, you've got to suppress it. You literally have to suppress it, or he's just going to eat unit after unit alive, and you'll never get to fight back. And if you're on like the 5 objective map, like that's got that, like, you know, what is it called? Death and Zeal. I think it was conversion as well. Conversion. Yeah, if you're here, remember from this point here to this point here, if you use Pythagoras, it's like 9, 9, right? So it's like 12 inches or something. 9 squared is 81. So is it not like 81 plus 81 and then the square root? What's the square root button? Is it this? No. Yeah, okay, so 81 plus 81 equals square root. Yeah. So like from here to here is 12 inches, right? Like a Bloodthirster literally moves 12. Oh, it's 12.7. A Bloodthirster literally moves 12 inches. So if he puts his Bloodthirster here, it's on you straight away. Or like maybe there's a piece of terrain here and there's a piece of terrain here. So in turn 1, he just puts it behind that piece of terrain, right? So like, and he could put something in front of it. Like, I'm pretty sure Dave put a squad of Bloodletters in front of it. So there's no way I can charge it, right? There's no way I can get from my obscuring position over all those Bloodletters and charge the Bloodthirster. And even if I could, I can only do 8 wounds to it in the charge phase, right? So like, any unit that jumps in there is dead without killing him. And I go anywhere near the middle, he's jumping on me. I mean, Dave was in the chat a few minutes ago, but like, I feel like there's a rock in a hard place. There's nothing we have that can deal with that. And I did try in the Sisters game. What map was the Sisters match? It was in the Sisters game. I try to be really smart and like put my unit of assault intercessors like daisy chained out in front of all my Sandguard, right? So he couldn't kill the Sandguard, right? He had to deal with the assault intercessors. And then in another game, I try to also sort of make that daisy chain even bigger by putting the characters in front. But like, even with the characters in front, because I figured like if they end up in engagement range of the characters, then I'll Angel Sacrifice. I guess even like in the Sisters game, I guess he was able to jump to one side and then use Miracle Dice to charge right round the back of everything and still get the Sanguinary Guard. And I was like, oh my god, yeah, Blood Angels need like a way to just guarantee like a 12-inch fucking charge like the Sisters do, because you know, when they can just guarantee a 10-inch charge, it just opens up so many options for them. Steven says he has 18 infernal pistols, and that would help. It might. But, I mean, in that situation, I don't think there's anywhere you could have placed your models because, like, when I show you the screenshot, it's just like a wall of corn demons. There's nowhere to land a 5-man unit in there to even fight, so you're not going to be able to land and shoot your infernal pistols. So you then end up feeling like you're forced to suppress them unless you just want to die. Astaroth as Warlord isn't bad because Soul Warden is amazing. Yeah, I actually do like Astaroth as a Warlord because of Soul Warden. I guess if you don't care about Dante's CP spend, or if you don't care about Dante, then I do like Astaroth as a Warlord. So that, I mean, that's a good point, I suppose, Mike. You could consider Astaroth as Warlord. All right, we're on to your list, Mike. Let's have a look at the list and then let's come back to your comments. So I've got a bit of context. So it's Dante in the Warlord. It's Lamartez with Litany of Faith for the Mortal Wound protection and Mantra of Strength. It's a squad of infiltrators, and then 5 Death Company Marines with just chainswords. Squad of scouts with bolt pistols and knives. We don't see that too often. And then the Thunderstrike with the rockets and a Landspeeder Storm, I guess, so that scouts have somewhere to go. We then have the Priest with Rites of War. We've got Death Company with Thunderhammers. This list's a little bit confusing. I guess it's just made in a different app, maybe. And then more Death Company with Thunderhammers. Sanguinary Ancient. Sanguinary Guard with 2 Infernal Pistols. It looks like it's a squad of 6. Sanguinary Guard another 6 with swords and axes. And then a 5 Sanguinary Guard. And then a couple of land speeders. Okay. So the Ancient, 3 Sangard, 2 land speeders, 3 Death Company, the Priest, the 4th Death Company, Lamartez. Alright, so yeah, I mean, this is a good idea, Mike, because I guess you've got the Fury of the Lost option here for sure. Even with 18 Infernal Pistols, he's only ever taking 8 wounds max, and then he's going to heal when he kills someone. Yeah, so, I mean, how do you... This is a very good point. I forgot. How much does he heal when he kills again, Dave? I know at the end of the game, the Bloodthirster was literally on full health. And I think your other Psyker that had been damaged a couple of times was also on full health. And I know the Lord of Change that was down all the way at like 4 wounds had healed back up to about fucking 10 or something. He just lingered in a combat with like Dante and the Sanguinary Guard were in combat for the Lord of Change for like 4 turns. They got him like super low, and then he just started healing, and then without the Red Thirst, they never actually like once Red Thirst had dropped off, I barely ever did any damage to him. Can you run 4 units of Death Company? You cannot actually, unless one of these was intercessors, but I don't think they are. So this is an invalid list. That's a good point. Is it? Hold on, though. This is... I think the format of this list just confused me. I think it's just 3 Death Company. I think it's... Because it doesn't say the points cost for any of the units. It just says elites. So I think this is 5 Death Company. I assume with 4 hammers. And I think this is 5 Death Company. I assume with 4 hammers. And then this is 5 Death Company with just bolt pistols and chainswords. We need to get a Blood Angels character that's got wound capped. I would love to play with this easy mode shit, honestly. Because I feel like a wound capped character, you can just be aggressive, especially like a Bloodthirster. Just go the hell in, know that you're only going to take, especially against like Blood Angels, which primarily do all your damage in one phase. Go in, take 8 wounds, come out, heal. It's great. Babel Baggins says I take a 3-man Inceptor squad just in case I really need to shoot something like a transport so I can focus on more hammers. We don't see that many Inceptors these days. I've got the plasma ones, but I've never really loved how much damage output they have. Have you considered something viable, heavy options in Redemptors? You seem to do well using dual Redemptors. I did do well using dual Redemptors, Carter. I also did well using dual Contemptors. I just don't know if the meta has moved on from that stage. We've seen some people do well with these Storm Speeders and Land Speeders. And obviously going 6 Sangre Guard and the Ancient with the Wrath of Baal. I kind of miss not running the Wrath of Baal, honestly, because I love the 14-inch move it gives you. The +1 to hit on the fight, the free attack when you die is also kind of nice. Jim says he loved Bolter Inceptors, but AOC kind of killed them. I kind of felt the same way, Jim. But then, you know, AOC isn't huge right now. If you drop, I always felt like if you dropped the Bolter Inceptors in turn 2 and they were -2, I always felt they were kind of good. So maybe we need to worry less about AOC. I'm not sure. Steven says I got slaughtered by a wound capped Catan shard of the Nightbringer last night. Oh yeah, I mean, see, that's another thing. If you're fighting Catan, that, like, Steven, that's 100%. Like, if I'm fighting against the Nightbringer, I feel like you have to suppress him every turn. Or you have to suppress him every turn he's going to make a charge, because otherwise you're never killing him, right? And obviously Nightbringer has like living metal as well, so you kind of need to be able to do damage to him in multiple phases, and that's one of the reasons that I like running a Psyker in my list, just to open up the ability to do damage in every phase. But against a Bloodthirster, when you're only going to be able to do like maximum 6 mortal wounds, but realistically, like, a good psychic phase for me is like 2 mortal wounds, honestly. I don't remember many psychic phases where I do more than 2 mortals. So, Lamartas and 3 Death Company as the core of the list. Less troops, lots of Sangre Guard, couple of Land Speeders. This seems to be the way the meta is pushing. The Storm Speeder, I guess another Land Speeder with scouts in it, 1 squad of Infiltrators. I mean, it seems to be the way that things are pushing, but oh man, I just hate how CP starved we are. Honestly, like, even with Dante, you're starting on 1 CP. I don't know if our codex was just a victim of the times, or if that's just how it goes. DTMs, you definitely need to worry less about AOC. I mean, the top armies for months have been Nids, Harleys, Necrons, Zunari. Demons, I guess, are now top. I was really pleased to draw with the demons, honestly. But yeah, no Armory of Contempt in sight. Yeah, maybe that's true. Armor of Contempt, honestly, to me feels Ink says I've got 2 CP in my list and it's a little rough. Yeah, I'm starting on 2 Inks, and if I Forlorn Fury, if I go first, I pretty much always Forlorn Fury, right? So if I go first, then I'm on 1 CP. And I like to have 2 CP because I feel like you need 2 CP to interrupt for Blood Angels. Like, because if you get charged on 2 or 3 fronts, if you don't interrupt, the one thing I think we can agree on is, even with Armor of Contempt, our units aren't durable. Like, Sangre Guard, still, the amount of times, like, I would lose like, let me think. I don't think I failed. I think I failed 1 test on Sangre Guard, like, morale, this whole event. And I actually don't think I failed a leadership test on Death Company this whole event. So if I have, like, so basically, those squads died 20 times this event, give or take, and I only failed 1 leadership test. So it makes me feel like Armor of Contempt doesn't make a whole lot of difference. When people go hard on the units, they wipe the units, because they're not there for me to fail leadership, which actually in some ways means Oath of Moment is an okay choice for secondary, because, like, we're not failing leadership. So it's going to be a minimum of like 5 points without having to do anything. But yeah, this seems to be the way that potentially, if you want to be super competitive, this is maybe the way you need to go. Feel like I'm probably not going to go this way myself because I don't like being shoehorned into these boxes. Like, I have a lot of units. I like to make my own lists. I enjoy making my own lists. Does it mean that maybe I'm not going to be the most competitive? Fine, but I'm not going to focus my list on 2 units. I don't think it's fun. Okay. So he's got 4 characters, 13 for assassinate. But this list makes relentless assault impossible to fail 15. I mean, you can definitely fail relentless assault 15. I guess the 3 land speeders helps a lot. Fury of the Lost has yet to score me under 12. Flex play with the flowchart win for 3rd secondaries. Alright, so he's actually using my flowchart, so that's nice. I appreciate that, Mike. Thanks. Thanks for doing that. I did actually use my flowchart today in some games and it helped me, but I royally fucked up against. I should have taken no prisoners against Necrons. I think when you play Necrons, if you don't take no prisoners, they barely make any reanimation. If you don't make no. If I'm trying to say, if you take no prisoners, there's like no reanimation, and you're like fine. But if you don't take no prisoners, then they reanimate fucking every model all the turn. Like, I must have killed like 40 Necron warriors to get through one squad of 20. So I was like, oh my god, why didn't I take no prisoners? This would have been so many points for me. With Lamarters on the field, I have 1 unit of Hammer and 1 unit of Death Company start in reserve, depending on terrain. I do think there's value in starting a unit in reserve and sometimes just bringing them down to reinforce a position. And I did that today, actually, with one of my Sangre Guard units. I just brought it down on a flank to reinforce the flank, and it won me the game. Even though necessarily them making the charge or not wasn't deciding factor. Most games, actions will not be needed. Banners are the only really exception. The Ancient or Priest with forward deployment infiltrators function very well at banners while supporting. Okay. Yeah, the only thing I just don't like is with a list like this is the lack of obsec. I think this lack of obsec is going to make playing Necrons super difficult because I had a shitload of obsec today and got totally dominated on primaries by Necrons. And like I basically have like the equivalent of 30 models with obsec, and I've got Rights of War. So I guess you just have to be aware of that. It's great if you can score all these secondary points, but at some point, like you do have to score primaries as well, right? 4 land speeders and 14 in jump. It's hard not to get 15 for relentless assault. I mean, yeah, until you play Sisters of Battle and there's a million sisters in their deployment zone, and any unit you put in there is instantly dead. I mean, yeah, apart from that, it's hard not to get 15, I guess. Bablo says Fury of the Lost is actually fun to play. Well, maybe I'll try Fury of the Lost. I'm probably back to the drawing board with my list. I've been waiting a while to try and see what emerges as the most meta, I guess, way to play Blood Angels, but maybe it's maybe the Fury of the Lost is the most meta way to play them right now. Okay, final list for today is submitted by PJ Murray. And if you are going to go Fury of the Lost, though, use that Bloodthirster as a good example, right? Like, I feel like you need Death Company with. You can't go like 3 Death Company with hammers. You need 1 with like 5 Infernal Pistols in there. Because if you come up against something horrendous, or even someone else mentioned Catan a few minutes ago. You need an option there where it's like, right, this is my option. I could go in with 5 Infernal Pistols and hopefully do 3 damage, follow that up with the hammers, and then, you know, get damage across multiple phases. I guess it's something we really have to deal with now, because like orcs have characters with damage across multiple phases, demons have them. We obviously know Catan have them. I'm sure there's other examples. Eldari have them. So yeah, it's not that I want to write them off as competitive, Stephen. It's that I don't think competitive play should resolve around a single unit or a single secondary. I guess if that's the way that competitive play has to be, fine. But for someone that only plays one army, that's pretty depressing, right? Like, I have 10,000 points of units of Blood Angels, all painted and all transferred, all looking cool, but you're telling me that I can only use that one unit that's in that one box there, and I have to have this exact weapon loadout, and all the other 9,500 points. I actually probably got more than 10,000 points of stuff painted now. Let's say 12,000. All the other 11,500 points of stuff, yeah, just leave it in the drawer. It's fine. And I think that's fine. I guess. But what sucks as well is like people come on this channel and ask me like, you know, hey, I've started and this is the units I've got, and then I have to be the one that says, yeah, dude, sorry, your units are all crap. You know, you just need to go back to the drawing board and just run that one unit in this one situation, because that's all we've got that's competitive. And yeah, I guess I'm not going to do that, right? Like, I'll just build my own lists and I'll do my own thing. And if some people can get some people can enjoy playing not just a single unit, then that's great. And if I really want to win an event in the future, because I mean at some point I probably will want to win an event, then maybe I'll run Lamartes and 3 squads of Death Company. Maybe I'll just go all in and fucking throw an Impulsor in there and put in some Death Company intercessors. But what I find is that like I see a lot of other armies that have like multiple options. I feel like, and I feel just jealous that there's other armies that have multiple options. But throwing all that aside, can I just put on the record that I think Tyrannids are still broken as fuck. I know they brought the Hive Tyrant down a little bit in terms of power, but everybody I spoke to at the event this weekend was like, well, Leviathan Tyrannids still won the event. They beat everybody. They actually like even beat that Knights list that Gav played against me a few weeks back, where I did like nothing against Gav's Knight list. Like, he just shat all over my Blood Angels list. It wasn't even close. So yeah, Leviathan Nids, even with the change, are still. I think they're still way too strong. Did it have Tervagants in it? It did indeed, Reziel. I'll share some of the lists, I'm sure, in Discord. Just ask me. Centurions all in, says Mike. I mean, don't want to buy 3 more Centurions. I mean, I like it that the Centurions are more competitive than they were. I definitely like that they're more competitive than they were. But it was standard sort of like Malceptor, Winged Hive Tyrants, Zonothropes, Neurothropes. I didn't actually pay too much attention to it, but I did look at it and was like, alright, it's just a standard Leviathan list. And it's still very, 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 very strong. Alright, PJ Murray has Dante as a Warlord. He's got Primar's Tech Marine with Soul Warden, and he's Master of the Forge, so he's repairing flat 3. He's got the Primar's Priest. Do you know, I've never run the Tech Marine and Priest. I always sort of said to myself, I don't think you could do that. but maybe maybe that would be a fun list to run as well. Assault Intercessors and Cursors. I do think this is the strongest troop choice, but I guess troops are just not... Like, all these troops could probably come down, like, 5 points per squad, and they'd still not be that strong, right? Maybe even 10. Death Company with 4 hammers. A Leviathan with a Graflux and a drill, and then a Relic Contemptor with a twin Volkite Coverings. I still think the twin Volkites are pretty useful. If they're ignored all the way through the game, that's like 10 mortal wounds at 45 inches. I think that's not bad. 2/7 Sangre Guards. Swords and Axes, Infernal Pistols times 2 in 1. Lightning Claw Vanguard Veterans. I'm not sure what Lightning Claw Vanguard Veterans bring really over like a 5-man squad of Death Company, but I mean, I guess they're fine. Eliminators with the Quake Bolts, and then the Whirlwind. Vanguard Veterans with shields, I think, are just too expensive at 30 points a model. I think that's the problem. I think that's why we don't see them, right? I do think that in the future, one of the things that I might like to see Carter, in terms of like chapter approved or the balance data slate or whatever you want to call it, I quite like the idea of like a season with like, you know, at the moment it's like you have, at the moment you can run 3 of any strong unit, or you can run 3 of each unit. I might like to see a season where you can't run 3. You know, like it's just 2 of any unit. By the way, the Tzeentch Flamers are fucking insane now, by the way. What is it, like D6 plus 3 shots per flamer, and they can make them wound Marines on 2s. So if you want to charge a squad of Tzeentch Flamers, it's like 5d6 plus 15. But apparently, Dave was saying that there's a strat for the Flamers. If you're doing like a 10-man unit, you can just do maximum shots. So every Flamer gets 9 shots. You can use psychic powers to make them like +1 to wound. Those Flamers were like, they were ridiculous. So yeah, in the game against Tzeentch demons, it was like I had a Bloodthirster that was just running around with 20 wounds, phase capped for 8, killing everything that I had. And I also had like these almost like unchargeable blocks of Flamers. I want to say the Flamers were like -2. They're no joke. For the number of shots they get. And they were definitely able to wound the Marines on 2s. Where's Flamers? What would they be under? Elite Exalted Flamer? Is it? Or is it just the Flamer? Yeah, so strength 5, -2, assault d6 plus 3, and then they can play a burning warp fire. If the enemy contains 11 or models when determining, count results of less than 9 as 9. And you can give them +1 to wound with a psychic. The max you can do is strength 7, -2, 1 damage with +1. Yeah, I mean, those Flamers were... I literally couldn't kill these Flamers with Assault Intercessors. I don't know how the Assault Intercessors actually managed to charge them. I think they must have already been in combat with something else. Or... yeah, I actually don't know how they... or maybe you had no CP left to... Did you have no CP left to Overwatch? Because, I mean, the Overwatch is ridiculous as well, right? Like... but in turn 1, I had like a squad of Incursors in cover... and you just moved the Flamers up, advanced them, and then flamed me in cover. I think I had to play Transhuman on them. Because I think if I didn't play Transhuman, I literally lost the whole squad. and that was like incursors in cover. Because you got 30 shots, 30 auto hits at -2. I mean, that's a lot of saves, right? Even with Armor of Contempt, that's an awful lot of saves. I've seen the guard release. Anything more than minimum size unit is going to get mullered, says Highland Phoenix. Yeah, I mean, I think our part of the problem, I think our codex is just starting to show its age a little bit. But I mean, I guess we can compete maybe if we go heavy on the Death Company, heavy on Relentless Assault. I want to say Shock Tactics is a lot. Shock Tactics is kind of viable now. Let me see if I pull up what I did, because I picked Shock Tactics a lot, right? I did it in my game against Sisters, and I only got 8 in that game, but like I failed like a 6-inch charge, which would have made it 12, right? Like it was guaranteed for 12. And remember, I don't. Half my list was knights, and the knights don't count for Shock Tactics. So, like, as a Blood Angels player, that would have been a lot better. Against Dave's Demons, I did 12 for Shock Tactics. Against Thousand Suns, oh, I actually did behind enemy lines in that game and scored the whole 15. That's fine. Against Tau on Shock Tactics, I scored 15. And then I felt like I'd done so well with Shock Tactics, and this is a huge misplay of mine. In the final game, I fucking picked Shock Tactics into Necrons. And it's like, you know, I actually, if I'd picked like Engage, no, not Engage, if I'd picked Relentless Assault or Behind Enemy Lines, I would have had like 10 points. But I picked Shock Tactics because I've been doing really well with Shock Tactics. And I felt like that final map, Abandoned Sanctuaries, which I hate, you're like jumping in, and you're kind of having to fight over the middle anyway. I really wanted to go second in that game, and I went first, which didn't help. But yeah, Shock Tactics was 100% the wrong call on that one. But Shock Tactics is definitely a decent secondary now. And I think the lowest I should have scored is 12. I was really unlucky in that final game to not make that. I actually had 2 charges to make in that final turn. So it was a 6-inch charge and a 9-inch charge, and I had a reroll, and I just failed all 3 of them. And if I'd made a single charge, then I guess I would have done 12, 12, and 15 on the 3 times I played Shock Tactics, ignoring the time that I picked against Necrons because I'm a fucking idiot. But I mean, I don't have enough experience playing Necrons. So, and that was actually my first game against Silent King, which doesn't help. Like, I always think it's a bad deal, especially near the end of the tournament, if you're playing against something you've never played against. So this is a double Redemptor Whirlwind Tech Marine list with a Priest. And then 2 Sanguinary Garden of Vanguard Veterans and Eliminators and Quake Poles. So most of the stuff in this list is cool. Starting on 2 CP is like very low. I already moved it up a little bit, or I put the points cost up in terms of like what it's scoring on the flowchart. Highland, I did share it. Rights of War in here on the Priest as well. So, I mean, I guess a list like this, it does a lot of things right. You know, like it brings some decent fire support. I don't overly love Leviathan Dreadnoughts. I feel like you're probably just better running like a Redemptor or another Contemptor. It has the 2 Sanguinary Guard. It has a single Death Company of Furlong. It has some Vanguard Veterans and Eliminators. So, like, these sort of lists are fine. I just feel like you're not going to do... Because, I run something similar or not a million miles away from this with a bit of fire support in that I was running some... what are they called? Armigers. And what I find is, like, you don't have brilliant secondaries. By running the armigers, like, I have a lot of obsec bodies, which means, like, I should perform pretty well in primaries, and for the most part I did. But you give by running the 3 armigers, yes, you get like another counts as 15 obsec, which is really useful, to be honest. Helps a lot in the primaries, but you kind of you sort of give yourself, like, it makes secondaries harder, and you don't have any, like, you don't really have any secondaries that are just going to be like. I felt like if I got 92, I think I had 2 games, I got 92 points, and I felt like that was really good. I didn't feel like I could ever score 100. I felt like scoring 90 in a game was actually going to be really good. Did I miss the firepower from the Helverins? I don't know. I mean, the strength 10, -4, 3 damage, Reaper chainswords when you're on an objective actually feels really nice, because not many things are saving very effectively against -4, right? Ruin Biscuit says I'm feeling really down about the state of the Bloods right now. I mean, I'm not feeling really down. But probably what I'm saying is, like, if you want to play at the highest competitive level right now, there's probably only like 2 or 3 options. I think the option that makes the most sense, or the one that's going to give you the most joy, is like going heavily Relentless Assault / Fury of the Lost. But, like, I really don't know how you score Relentless Assault on this map, right? Like, if you play Abandoned Sanctuaries, sure, there's loads of space in these corners, right? If you play this one, what's this one called? This was one of them, the Scouring, right? In the Scouring, all the objectives are in no man's land, right? So, like, Relentless Assault behind enemy lines is super fucking easy. Like, you can just drop, like, a single unit here from Deep Strike, or from what's the other thing? Reserve, and just score like 15 points. Like, it's super fucking easy. But then, if you play this map and you play against, like, I wouldn't even, like, would you call Sisters like a horde list? Like, you know, even against, like, the demons, because the demons are pretty strong. There was nowhere in his zone all the way through to like turn 3 or 4. There was nowhere I could put anything in that deployment zone without instantly getting it mopped up straight away. So if you're gonna try and do, like, Relentless Assault every game, that actually becomes, like, it becomes map specific. It only needs a touch, not within. Yeah, I mean, that's true, but remember, you have to have more than they have of viewers, right? So they only need to touch one here, and then it's even, right? But yeah, on one like this, where you can sort of hide and shot tactics into the middle every time, that feels like a lot better. Uh, I am, like I said, I played shock tactics 3 times, 4 times, 3 times. I felt like I did really well with it. I think 12 points. Yeah, it would have been 12, 12, 15. Um, I did actually read. I did reread shock tactics from the GW website, because maybe you guys didn't realize this. And when I reread it today, I think this is right. Let me just check this. This is how we'll end the stream tonight, because I'm pretty tired. I'll make a video on all my games from the tournament this week. Is this it? Shock tactics, right? Change shock tactics, blah blah blah. At the end of your turn, score 4 victory points to control one or more objective markers that are controlled by your opponent at the start of that turn. And a Blood Angels unit from your army is within range of the objective marker. So, like, in my case, And I think I did this in one of the turns where like, and this was, I was gonna say maybe this was the demons game actually. I don't remember which game it was, but it was a game where I was getting my ass kicked. Like I was getting killed all over the place. But like I was able to like take my priest who had, I think he'd been in combat, and like fall him out of combat. No, it wasn't. It was the sisters game, I think. So I fell him out of combat and just brought him like right over to an objective that I was like fighting on. But then by like falling him out of combat, put the Rights of War aura onto my guys in the objective, and then all of a sudden it was mine. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I literally should have scored 12, 12, 15, and then I shouldn't have picked it against the Necrons. Um, but I think if on a map like that where there is no space, there's no way you can get into their opponent's deployment zone, or if you do get in, you're just instantly getting killed, and you don't want to trade the unit. Then I think that would be a valuable one for shot tactics. And like I said, I picked it 4 times out of 5. I should have picked. Not playing Necrons enough made me forget how obscenely annoying and problematic their obset can be. Everybody runs Eternal Conquerors, right? I should have remembered that. Sorry, did I have anything else to say about this list? I like the Soul Wardens on a different character from the priest. I like having the 2 bubbles for Feel No Pain if you can. I do like double dreadnought lists. I think there's value in them. I don't see them do all that well at tournaments, but they're decent. I mean, Blood Angels need some fire support, so double dreadnoughts with eliminators and a whirlwind. The whirlwind still seems expensive for what it does. 125 points for like so little damage, just suppression fire. Man, I'd like to see the whirlwind go like 10 points down, or actually get a gun that could actually like the whirlwind's damage or potential or whatever was made before they made like the changes to indirect fire to like nerf the AP. So it's like normally when the whirlwind fires, everybody gets like a plus to their save, and yeah, it's not great, is it? The trick now with the whirlwind is later in the game, like sneaking it out so you don't take the -1 to hit, and then they don't get the save, right? I mean, against those Zinj Flamers, you 100% need Overwatch Denial. 100%. Well, I commissioned that Terrax drill, Highland Phoenix. So maybe that's my next list. I mean, a Terrax can do 9 damage a hit against vehicles. Mike, I think, has already painted my Terrax. Like, he sent me a picture, like, I suppose I'll probably have to pay Mike to get him to send me it if I want it quicker. I'll run the Terrax in the new year. Like here. So this is my Terrax. I just don't have it yet. Mike's been painting it for me. I mean, it's the same cost as a Dreadnought. Can get some things into. I don't. What could I put in it? Lightning Claw Vanguard veterans, or I don't know. I have no idea. Do Centurions fit in? No. Just Firstborn Marines. But I did think that like one option could be to run some tactical Marines to save on if we can agree all assault intercessors feel pretty worthless now, then maybe we can just put like a squad of tactical Marines in drop the Tarax in the backfield, the Tactimarines pop out to scoring relentless assault, and maybe they just try and hide. I don't know. I'm trying to think how much value I feel it. How much value I feel having a squad of guys in the backfield, like assault intercessors and cursors, provide. Because, like, yeah, it didn't feel like I get to put another unit on my 11,000 point shelf of glitter. Oh well, I'll make it work, Carter. I'll make it work. All right, I am going to take off. Thank you. I think we got one new member tonight. I think it popped up saying Inks, so I assume Inks you did another gifted sub. If so, thank you so much. If you resubbed or became a member, I appreciate that too. I'll upload all the photos I took. I actually took way more photos of the games than I've taken at previous events. Like I probably took like 3 or 4. I think maybe even the Tau game, it looks like I took like 6 photos. So I'll try and put all the photos together in a PowerPoint this week and talk about the games, talk about what I learned, and then I guess talk about where I'm going next in terms of my list. But I would be lying to say that I'm not frustrated with the state of Blood Angels at the moment. And if that comes across too heavily, then I'm sorry. I'm just finding it very, very difficult to be. I don't even know if the right word is motivated, but I'm just feeling like, you come into a matchup at a tournament where, no offense to some of the other people that I played against or anything like that, where I feel like I know my army inside out. I only play one army. And then I have to fight tooth and nail, and I can potentially still get beaten pretty heavily on an army that like I should know everything about. Yeah, I mean I think I talked to an AdMech player, and the AdMech player at the event did really well actually. He won a bunch of his games, but he was saying like he just felt very frustrated that like as AdMech he just can't score high points in secondary, and I think it's good what they did in the balance data slate, right? Like I think it's good that they made smaller changes because they're trying to get things together. But I think like we really need to. I still think like what they said, 45 to 55% win rates are too far apart. And I think even with these changes, like Tyranids are still going to have a giant win rate, Harlequins are still going to have a giant win rate, and to say Space Marine players are bad is very frustrating because I don't think I'm a bad player. I really don't think I'm a bad player. I'm trying to think back today. Like I don't think I missed a single phase. I don't think there was many. I don't think there was many plays or stuff that I did until afterwards. I thought like, oh shit, that was wrong. Yeah, I made 1 or 2 mistakes, but like when you only make 1 or 2 mistakes and they're minor mistakes, and then you get in a game where like you feel like you just cannot win, like you just have 0% chance of winning the game. That's really quite frustrating. So yeah, there's definitely some frustration from me. And I hope you guys understand it. I'm trying not to let it come to the surface, but it definitely is. Um, um, okay, all right. Enjoy your weekend, guys. If there's any of it left, I will see you guys this Friday probably for I guess a recap on all the games, and maybe you guys can learn something as well. And yeah, thanks so much for hanging out. Hit like if you enjoyed tonight's stream. It's really nice to see. Yeah, I'm really pleased you came and hang out as well, Dave. I really enjoyed my game against you. I think that was my game of the tournament, actually. I think the last time we played as well, at the previous GT, your game was probably the game of the tournament. So, I'm just thinking to myself, Dave, that I'm 100. I've still not been beaten by you, so we'll just see how long that keeps up. But no, I'm joking. Joking. Fuck, that was like literally the closest game ever. There was another draw at that event actually. Two people drew 86 all as well. So we had two, like an 84-point draw, an 86-point draw. Yeah. All right, guys, enjoy your weekend. I will speak to you Friday. Peace. Any match on Wednesday? Oh, good question. I don't know if there's a match on Wednesday. I'll bring Dave on the channel to kick my ass. Yeah, I could ask him. I don't think he lives locally, but I mean, I'm sure we could get him up for something. Yeah, I'm supposed to game on Wednesday. I'm just all 6s and 7s, just exhausted after this tournament. Let me see if I can find somebody to play me on Wednesday. And if there is a game, I'll post in Discord or something like that. I'll let you know. Probably if there's not a game, I'll probably just I'll probably stream some painting. But I imagine I probably need to play a game. I was gonna say, do I have? I know I've got painted Lamartes. Do I need to break out like all my old Death Company, and then commit myself to painting Death Company for the whole Christmas holidays? We'll see. All right, enjoy your night, guys. Peace.